Good morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody. My name is Jenny Galinsky. I'm currently in beautiful Chicago, Illinois, a stone's throw from Wrigley Field. We're so glad you're here joining us today at this corporate finance transformation panel, part of the extra credit for the Summer Learning Academy. As I said, my name is Jenny. I am a recruiting manager for our MBA hiring. So I've been with AT&T for 12 years, which is really hard to believe. And a little fun fact about myself is I actually am a former championship Irish dancer. So it's pretty cool back in the day. Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance, all that good stuff. Today, we're going to talk about corporate finance transformation, but before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items for everybody. This session is being recorded, so please drop if you don't want to be recorded, and you can always view the recording afterwards. The chat pod will be enabled for a portion of the presentation, so if you want to participate, just introduce yourself and keep your conversations professional as well as relevant to the topic. There will be a 15-minute Q&A at the end, so please submit your questions utilizing the Q&A pod within Zoom. And, you know, if we adhere to all of that, we'll have a great time today. So I'd love to introduce quickly our panelists who will be presenting today. We have a great group today. First, we have Tim Webb, who's a director in ATO working on financial analysis. ATO is our AT&T Technology and Operations Group. He's also a graduate of our Finance Leadership Development Program, which is what I currently recruit for, so had to give that a little shout out right away. Linda Ford is a program manager with our Finance Leadership Development Program. Morgan Rader is an associate director with our undergraduate Finance Development Program, so she'll share more with you about that program. And then we also have Martha Martinez, who's a participant in the program. You'll be hearing from her as well. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to Tim.
Thanks, Jenny. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us and taking your time to listen to us this morning. So we've got some pretty exciting stuff to share with you. So when you think about finance, you don't necessarily think about transformation and/or technology. But here at AT&T, we've spent a lot of time over the last few years actually integrating technology into the way we do finance. And we're on this journey of transformation. And I'll cover that first. Following Morgan is going to give you some insight around the development program from an undergraduate perspective. Linda Ford will be talking about the Finance Leadership Development Program from an MBA perspective. And like we said before, we've got Martha, who's going to actually be talking, giving a little bit of insights from her experience, followed by a Q&A session. We're going to try to shoot for about 15 minutes worth of Q&A. So all four of us are going to do our best to stay on time. So with that said, let's move forward to the next piece. So when we talk about finance and corporate finance in general, really, we are the stewards within the company responsible for making sure that financial planning, accounting, tax, auditing, investment management, investor and shareholder relations are all put together, are all concise, are all accurate, as well as we provide all of the analysis across finance that allows for us to find insights to drive change. So think of us as really the folks behind the scenes that are making sure that us as a stock company are providing the financial guidance as well as driving the direction of our company. So we also are the backbone behind any mergers and acquisitions, working with our operational partners. So it gives you a lot of insight into what we do. But as we talk about it, you're going to see a lot of blurring of the lines in some cases where there's a lot of operational partnership within finance that's currently taking place. So we'll talk more about that in just a minute. Move forward. Next slide. So going into finance transformation, and we can go ahead and jump to the next slide. So really, I'm going to talk about four things this morning. One revolving around tools and technology and the work we've done there on our journey, talking about data ecosystem. And we'll talk more about it, but data is integral to finance. And quite frankly, it is integral to any company, no matter what you're doing. So the more data you have, the more change, the more insights, the more results you can drive. Third, we'll talk about employee experience. This is something kind of new that has really been taking hold across not only our company, but across really corporate America in general. And we'll talk more about that. But really the focus there is really upon you. It's focused on me. It's focused on everybody within finance that is an employee. And then lastly, we're going to talk about a little bit about future innovation. So we are innovating today, but that doesn't stop. So how do we plan to make sure that whether it be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we are doing what we need today to be where we want to be tomorrow? So we'll talk more about that as well. So move forward to tools and technology. So when we think about tools and technology as it relates, quite frankly, to finance, we do a whole lot of work, whether it be around journal entries from an accounting perspective, whether it be around conducting financial analysis, but then also within AT&T, we do a lot of work also around operational. So think about customer service, whether it be collections, whether it be running people's credit, those sorts of things. So tools are an integral part of how we do our work. So if you take a financial analyst's work and you think about it from an assembly line perspective, an analyst will go get data from someplace, maybe multiple places. They'll put it into primarily today, or has been in the past, Excel, right? So they're going to do a lot of work around Microsoft Excel, which you probably in your finance classes and or any experience you've had within working at AT&T or other companies, being an Excel professional is very important, right? Because that way you can be very efficient in the way you put the data together in a cohesive manner, right? And then you put it into your tabs where you're actually doing your analysis. So if you think about modeling, whether it be, to do valuations or whether it be just to trend forecasts, right? So Microsoft Excel is very core to the way we've always done things. If you're at AT&T and other companies, then you take what you've got in Excel and you move it over to PowerPoint, because Excel, while it's very good at crunching the numbers and allowing you to move things around, aesthetically, it's not that pleasing. So PowerPoint skills become very important, just like this slide you see here, in communicating your story, okay? Within finance, we've been bringing in newer business intelligence tools to the way we do finance. So if you think about, we just talked about Excel, we talked about PowerPoint. Well, tools like Microsoft Power BI or Tableau bring a lot of those same capabilities into one overarching holistic tool, okay? So if you think about where we are going, whether it be today or tomorrow, a lot of the manual work that people have been spending time in Excel and then also in PowerPoint gets replaced with Power BI, okay? For example, if you're working with the Microsoft products. So in fact, if you even talk to Microsoft today, they would tell you, you know what? Excel's great and it has a very good use case. So is PowerPoint. They've made a lot of money selling both of those products. But really where they're sinking their money are into the new BI tools. And the reason being is because not only does it help you have it in one single tool, but it allows for easier automation. It allows for more automation to be built into what you do, right? So, and a lot of that's very intuitive, okay? So we've been enlisting, partnering with Microsoft and others to bring that into what we do, and think of it as adding another tool to the toolbox for a financial analyst, for example. Other tools we've been working really has to do about self-service data prep. And you may have heard of tools like Alteryx and Nime. Our accounting folks have been leveraging a lot of those tools lately. And the reason being is because you don't have to have a separate IT team to be able to bring data sources together in an intuitive, replicative process. You can use Alteryx and Nime to do it in a very automated fashion. So and the primary theme around this is, how do we enable our analysts to be more efficient and then drive better insights using new tools and technology? Okay, so really had a heavy focus on analytics tools. Moving to the middle, process automation. So if you think about robots and assembly line, right? If you think about, let's use an automotive example, but most of the cars today are manufactured using robots, right? They go through and they drill the holes, they even paint the bodies on the cars, right? Well, we do a lot of the same thing from an assembly line standpoint, whether it be putting together journal entries, whether it be making adjustments to billing. Okay, somebody's bill comes in, we want to be able to do that in a bulk process fashion, right? And a lot of the times it's the same keystrokes, it's the same mouse clicks over and over again. So rather than employing someone with a degree to go do that, which is constant work, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, we enlist intelligent process automation. So we call them bots, but it essentially allows for us to have a bot do that work over and over and over again, and allows us to be able to repurpose those employees to do something much more intelligent, or much more that drives a lot more efficiency, drives a lot more result, because we can have a bot do it. So we've been employing a lot of bots and intelligence process automation to our business to drive efficiency. Lastly is really around technology-driven insights. So you've probably heard of artificial intelligence, you've probably heard of machine learning, okay? And this is where the computers are actually giving us insights of the business that quite frankly, we could put a lot of analysts towards trying to find those insights, and we might not even get half of the insights that the computer will give us, okay? So when you think about machine learning, think about data science just for the citizens, right? For a standard analyst. Well, there's technology out there that allows for you to be able to feed lots of data into these machine learning algorithms, give it a little bit of guidance around what you're looking for, and it starts bringing in data science type insights into the results. Okay, so think about bringing correlation and bringing R-squared and regression analysis into what we do. So think about trying to look at not only what happened, but then intelligently using technology, understand why it happened. And then even more progress gives you what will happen in the future, okay? And as we talk about this, you can see there's a common trend here. How do we get more value out of what we do using technology? So other parts of this is, and you've probably seen it on your mobile phone. How many times have you brought up your mobile phone at, I'm making this up, 7 a.m. in the morning when you go to work in the morning, and it's already mapped out your journey into work, and it's told you, hey, you know what, you should take this route versus this other route because of the traffic jam. Well, artificial intelligence does that same thing. So as an analyst, think about going into work in the morning, and your job for that day is to find out the results that happened for the month prior, right? And we do this a lot in finance around, okay, what happened and why did it happen? Well, how great would it be if artificial intelligence already brought up not only the dashboards and the views that you were looking to see, but then it also gave you some insights around things that are out of trend, things that you need to look into. So now you have just cut down the amount of time, not only that you would have taken in providing and building that dashboard, but you've already started on the path of trying to understand insights that drive in the business. So all of it comes around tools and technology really making us better at what we do overall. And that technology is here today. We have been on this journey to integrate this into the way we do finance at AT&T. It's been a very progressive process, meaning that we have a lot of folks that have been here for 10, 15, 20 years, that they're used to doing the way that they've always done it. And we'll talk more about that from an employee experience standpoint. But the key takeaway is that as you think about finance, I encourage you to think about finance differently that from what you may have historically seen or done, and think of it more around technology that's going to help you drive finance because it's helping us. Next slide, please. We talked about data. So as we talk about whether it be finance dashboards using BI, whether it be automated insights, et cetera, data is integral to everything we do at AT&T. So especially in finance. So when we think about finance and the way we do our business, not only are we bringing in financial results, so your P&L statements, your balance sheet, income statement, et cetera, but we are also starting to we always bring in operational data. So the operational data drives the financial results, right? And let's use a mobile phone, the mobile business for an example, right? We have a number of stores that are out there. We have a number of people that go into the stores. We track that. We track how many units or devices we've sold, what type of devices they are, et cetera. So as you think about that, that data sits on all of these different data sources, all these different places. Well, if you are a large corporation like we are, we have data everywhere. One of the easiest things for us to be able to do to make it not only so that we're more efficient, but our employees are able to be more effective is to bring all of that data into one place. So we have been working in this effort within finance to integrate our data into one location. We have a chief data organization that we partner with heavily, but the intent is to not only integrate the data, but we allow for it to be very intuitive. We want to make sure that we have comprehensive data supply that basically gives everyone anything that they would want, as well as we want to make sure we're agile, meaning that if I need data, let's say that I want to understand how many by gender people that are coming into the store, and by gender how many people are purchasing mobility devices, so that then I can take that information and I can transform it into an advertising campaign, for example. Well, I can't wait a week or two to do that, right? And we want to be able to have that data available at our fingertips if possible, but even more so within the next day or so. So integrating the data is very important. And I would encourage you, as you look at your careers at AT&T and think about as you come in, hey, first off, where's the data? How do I get to it? And then how do I continue to make sure I build upon that data ecosystem? Because this is an effort that is company-wide, is finance-wide, and it's something that is integral to making sure that we be as efficient and effective as possible. Next slide. So we talked a little about it before, but just around employee experience. So we talked about the different tenures of people within AT&T, and quite frankly, how AT&T is transformed, whether it be from a cultural standpoint or whether it be just from overall tools and technology. So if you think about finance transformation and what we just talked about focusing more on analysis and less about data culmination, data curating, and then also cobbling together data and dashboards and then PowerPoint, the skill sets that we needed yesterday are not the skill sets that we need today or even tomorrow, right? So if you look at this spectrum here, right, before it was really important for people to be very efficient report builders. It was very important that people understand how to go into the multiple differing data sources and be able to grab data out of the different systems. Right? It's very important that they understand how to do all of that assembly line that we talked about before that has largely been done manually. As we move to a more automated technology different finance organization, you can see it's much different in the skill sets that are important, that people need to really be good at. So analytics and strategic thinking becomes really the forefront of importance, right? How do you understand not only the business, but then the financials, so that you understand what you see in these dashboards and how it drives change and how it drives insights. The other big part of this is soft skills become very imperative to understanding the business. And the reason being, we talked about before how finance is the CFO entity, and we partner with our operational folks and leaders in the business. So without me being able to reach across the aisle and build relationships with these partners, I'm not that effective as a financial analyst and a financial partner, right, as a CFO. So relationship building becomes very, very important. So think about communication, think about soft skills, right? And being able to build trust, right? Those sorts of things. The other part of it is that if you think about as we expand what we've got and make that much more automated, well, we expand what we want, right? So we talked about putting all that data in place and becoming more efficient there. Well, as we think about that, we have more time on our hands, we start thinking about other parts of the business, other things we want to add in, other things we want to look at. And it becomes this regenerative type ecosystem that drives not only more data, but more insight. So project management starts becoming very important as you think about, okay, how do I get from where I am today where I want to be tomorrow? Whether it be just a 1 or 2 day type exercise or something that's even more longer term, but allows for a lot of innovative thought that we've got some today, and we've built a lot on that. But tomorrow, really the focus is going to be on innovation, and it's going to be on insight, because a lot of the technology helps us drive us to be able to do better what we've done in the past. Next slide, please. So we talked about building for today and planning for tomorrow. So if you think about where we are today, and we talk a lot about business intelligence, we talk about the financial foundation of the data platform, right? Where we're working today, where we're heavily investing our focus, limited artificial intelligence. We've got a lot of that built out, and I'll use our credit and collections folks. They have a very good platform that understands risk as it relates to people applying to get cell phone plans, right? For the most part, they're very good about being able to understand not only who is going to pay their bill, but then also who's not. So we utilize a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning today, but it's going to continue to get better and better. Some process automation today as well, where we're focused. But if you look at a lot of the foremost predictors, and I'll use Gartner for an example, things like augmented analytics that we talked about already, to where not only is the machine giving you what you're looking for from a dashboard or information perspective, but then it's also actually starting to do a lot of the analytics behind the scenes so that it's telling you what you need to do. And we'll use that commute example that we used before around, right, whether it be Siri or Google Voice or Cortana or any of those automated assistants that we're used to today. Well, we're going to start having financial insights automated assistants that allow us to not only tell us what happened, but then why it happened. So augmented analytics become very much the forefront as technology grows from what we're seeing. Okay. Data science also becomes a very integral part of what we do. So I would recommend polishing off your data science skills and understanding what a correlation means, what a regression analysis does, and so forth. Not necessarily how to do it per se, but it's going to be very important for us as we move forward to understand what it means. We talked about Siri and Alexa. Natural language query becomes very important in the next 5 to 10 years is what we do. And then democratizing our data. We talked about those silos of data and how we're working very hard to integrate them together. but it starts to get to where not only am I looking at financial and operational data, but then I'm also starting to look at outside leading indicators and integrating that into a lot of what we do from a forecasting standpoint, right? If we move all the way to beyond, and this comes where it becomes very hazy, but I think we believe that we at some point get to the point where not only is the machine telling us what has happened and why it's happened, but it's also then starting to give us predictions, right? It's starting to do our forecasting. It's starting to tell us other indicators that maybe we might not even thought about. So we start getting into, whether it be 5 to 10 years out or longer, into this area where we know that we'll eventually get there. We just don't know the time frame. But it's very important on what we're working on today to make sure that going forward, we're ready for when that happens. So I share that with you just because it's a very, very exciting time to be at AT&T. It's a very exciting time to be in finance. And we're really trying to lead the business in focusing in these areas for our future. And last slide. So as I was thinking about putting together this and talking with you about what we've done and how we're doing it, I thought about, not too long ago, I've sat in your seat, and they mentioned it before, I'm an FLDP graduate. And it wasn't that long ago I sat in your seat and I thought, well, what's AT&T doing? But then also, more importantly, what can I do to make sure that I'm ready to be successful, whether it be, we would love for you to be at AT&T, but elsewhere in your careers, right? And what I would really focus or encourage you to focus upon is, if you're a finance major, if you're focused on finance, broaden your capabilities to understand technology, understand marketing, understand operations. It's so imperative that you understand the business holistically so that you can be successful. Technology is going to be an integral part of wherever you go. I don't care where you are, whether you're in sales, whether you're in finance, whether you're in marketing. Technology is changing at a very fast rate, and I'd focus heavily upon technology, even if it scares you. It's not that complicated, I can assure you. Focusing on your soft skills. So communication, right? If you're scared of getting in front of a large group and talking, do it a few times. You're going to get better at it. The communication is going to be imperative. And then lastly, and this is where finance transformation for us has been probably the most challenging, but getting comfortable about thinking differently. So as you think about the business, what can you bring to the table that allows for transformation to occur, or for you to be a part of that transformation? So with that said, Morgan, I think I'm handing off to you to talk about the undergraduate programs. I hope you found that insightful and interesting.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim. Great overview of where finance is today and where we're moving in the future, and a great segue into what we're going to talk about. He talked about the skills and the opportunities available. We're going to talk a little bit more of a couple of the programs as an opportunity as pipelines into AT&T. So first, I just wanted to say you guys are all taking a great step in your education and development by being a part of this summer program. So kudos to you all for being here. You can go ahead and go on to the next slide. I have the pleasure of running the undergraduate finance development program. It's a fairly new program. We're in our third program year, and it was developed as another avenue or pipeline for undergraduates to start their career with AT&T. It's a unique opportunity for you to join a company with a cohort of your peers. So it is a 1-year Dallas-based program. So all of our participants from across the country do relocate to our downtown Dallas office. And we do that so it enables you to have broader business exposure, networking with your peers, as well as the different leadership teams. We have 3 pillars. So the first one is rotation. So traditionally you do about 2 to 3 rotations, most commonly 2 6-month rotations, but we are flexible based on the needs of the business. So the program team works with our business partners across all of the different organizations to collect opportunities. And then we work with you as the participants to match your skills development needs to those rotations. And then secondly, skills development. So we offer supplemental curriculum to focus on skills development, a lot of what Tim spoke about earlier. So we work with you one-on-one to help you, whether you need a little more focus on those functional finance skills, those soft skills, or becoming better in those technical skills. We always want to have the continuous learner mindset. So your learning always continues even after you start with AT&T. And the third thing is team interaction. So we have monthly team meetings where we do training or we bring in special guest speakers. We also offer the opportunity for you to do peer-to-peer presentations to help practice those soft skills. We get together for lunches, holiday parties, we celebrate birthdays, and then we offer leadership exposure. So we know that this is a journey for you. Once you come into the company, you don't just stay with one role, you move around a lot throughout your career. So we want you to have the opportunities to learn about different parts of the organization. And then at the end of the program year, after your rotations are complete, we work with you to help you find a permanent spot within one of our finance organizations. We can go to the next slide. So Tim talked a little bit about the skills of the future that we're looking for, and you guys can give yourself a pat on the back because for the first box internship experience, you're already doing it right now by being a part of this program. So we're looking for people who are proactive and looking for those opportunities to get business exposure and development with a proven track record of success. We typically look for people who have just completed a finance, business, or accounting degree, but definitely looking for those data analytics, technology focus, think MIS or data analytics minors. Also statistics, mathematics, economics. So kind of the full gamut of those business degrees. We're looking for someone who has future leadership potential. So looking for people who are proactive with volunteerism and giving back to their community, whether that's through mentoring, community service, or if you're into sports coaching, being proactive and active in organizations across your campus, as well as athletic teams. So I've listed here just a few of our top placements, but we really are across the board in any finance organization. So think those CFO support teams that work with the business as that's their client, and they offer the budgeting, month-end close activities, project management. We also have people in our corporate controllers group, financial planning, and then those finance transformation teams that are really looking to infuse new technology into our finance processes. All right, you can go to the next slide. So if you think this program might be a good fit for you post-graduation, we will be looking to recruit people who are going to be graduating this December or May of 2021. So what it looks like for us for the next few months is in September, the program will be finalizing their 2021 resource planning. So I think our class sizes are typically anywhere from 20 to 25 participants. Our job requisition will be open on att.com jobs the first or second week in October. So just if you make a habit of every couple of days, once we reach that fall timeline to be checking the website, it will be live there. And then we will conduct 2-round interviews starting in early November. So the first one will be a phone interview just to get to know you a little bit better, behavioral type questions. And then second round we'll bring you back and we'll have a panel of people, or leaders from our program, and we'll get more into those technical financial skills and get to know you a little bit better and what you're looking to do to jumpstart your career. And then before the Christmas holiday, we will extend job offers because we do have classes that start, if you're a December graduate, you start in January, or May graduates start in July. So I know I went through the program quickly. I want to pass it over to Martha Martinez, who is a 2019 FDP class graduate. She has had 3 diverse internship experience with AT&T, 2 FDP rotations, and she is now onto her permanent role. So she's just going to give you a little bit of an overview about her experience, and I'm happy to answer Q&A at the end of the session. Martha, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, all. So my AT&T career started the summer of my freshman year. I was honestly looking to build my resume by getting some work experience first on, as a lot of y'all are doing, and kudos to you for starting out early because it helps and it's worth it in the end. For me, my first rotation was in Atlanta, Georgia. I was a Hispanic marketing mobility intern. Here, I analyzed current and potential sales customers and then generated a market campaign that we could aim for our potential customers. For me, I loved it. I was a marketing major at first, and this was very pivotal for me just because I decided to go finance. I was missing the numbers aspect of things. And so I communicated that with my supervisor, and she was more than willing to help set up meetings with me and finance people and pricing teams. And I understood that that's where I need to be. So I ended up changing my career at Texas Tech to finance, Breckham, by the way. And then I was asked back to come to AT&T for my second summer. I was a product management intern in Dallas, Texas. For them, I rolled out AT&T Collaborate, which is a product that was being used at the time, kind of like a Skype. I did an open house with them. I rolled out job aids, and then I also did financial analyst just because I told them that's where I wanted to kind of start sharpening those skills. Oh, did it drop? Did it drop? I cannot tell.
We can
We
hear
can still hear
you.
you. Oh, you can still hear us? Okay, perfect. And so I was in Dallas for that. And then my third internship, I was a financial analyst intern where I supported a small team for the user experience and got some of that financial experience, which made me a lot more excited for graduation coming up and being able to use those skills. I ended up choosing to work for AT&T mostly because I did intern with them for 3 years, and it was honestly the best experience. I love the culture, the people, and the work. All my supervisors I'm still in contact with. They led me to my career changes to finance, and I could always confide in them. The people there, like, they don't just value your work, but they value you as a person. And so I really liked that. Also, I did interview for other companies, and it was just always in the back of my mind. Like, I knew what AT&T had offered me, and I already understood the culture a lot better. I also just really liked it because of the program itself. Transitioning from academic to a corporate environment is really different, especially when you're just going into a full-time job. Having a program like this and having 20 other peers with you, it helps a lot. Like, having people my age going through the same things I am, like a new city, some new experiences, and having people to lean in was great. On top of that, just the program itself and like how it was structured, where we got rotational experiences. As you can tell, I enjoyed my rotational experiences in the different business units, and AT&T is huge. So getting the opportunity to see the different orgs and just kind of know different things before actually picking like where I wanted to stay permanently for my full-time role was really nice. For my first rotational experience, I was in global operations and services. In this role, I analyzed volumes and I started unit cost reporting. The team I was on was great, and they really pushed me to make sure that I was developing those technical skills by doing like financial support, and I was helping a smaller team with their finances. Also got to dabble in Power BI, kind of like what Tim was talking about. They wanted to develop me and make sure that I was still getting all those tools and being able to move towards what was the future in finance. For my second rotation, I was in AT&T technology and operations. That was really nice just because I got more exposed to that side of the business and got to learn more at a macro level. So for those couple of months, I helped doing some financial analysis for them. Like I mentioned before, the program itself was great, not only because they kept up with us both personally, but professionally. We had like those one-on-one meetings that Morgan was talking about earlier, where I would talk to her about my goals, and she would kind of set me down a path of how to get there. And like, I know I could trust and share where I wanted to go with her, and she would help me get there. We also had like those FDP meetings where we met as a group and developed like that as well. It really helped develop a lot of my skills, and my biggest advice would just be be curious, ask the questions you need to ask, and make sure you're developing yourself along the way. And I think that's it, or all I have to say.
Okay. Well, thank you, Martha, for sharing your experiences. I think that was really helpful to the students who are listening to us today to understand your experiences as an intern and now as part of our full-time program. So I'm going to quickly go over the MBA program. So I'm from New Jersey, so I'll try to speak fast because I think I only have a few minutes because we definitely want to get to some of these good questions that you have here. So our Finance Leadership Development Program is geared towards MBA hires with at least 3 years of previous work experience. And under the umbrella of FLDP, we have two components. We have our full-time 3-year rotational program, which is for recent MBA graduates or those that are in their second year of their MBA getting ready to graduate, and our summer intern program, which is geared towards first-year MBAs. And really the objective of the program is to provide for the long-term leadership needs of the finance organization through rotations, leadership development training, networking, and mentoring. And we very much use our summer intern program as a feeder pool for the full-time program, where approximately 50% of our full-time participants do come from our summer intern program. So we currently have approximately 153 total participants. 51 are active in the program, meaning first, second, or third year. We have 20 summer interns with us as well. And 45% of our graduates are at director level or higher. So as I mentioned, this is very much of a leadership development pipeline for finance, and we are delivering on that. Actually, our highest level graduate is the CFO of Xander. He's a senior vice president within finance, so we're very proud of his accomplishment. But again, many of our folks go on to be directors or higher within the finance organization. We do have our recruiting targets already for next year, so we are going to be looking to bring in 15 to 18 full-time participants as well as 15 to 18 interns. And our recruiting timeline is similar to what Morgan talked about, through September through December approximately. So if we go on to the next slide. So as I mentioned with the full-time program, this is what this slide is really covering. It's 3 one-year rotations, one being typically your first one in operational finance, one being in more of a strategic finance role as your second rotation, and then an operational assignment where you actually go out into operations and manage a team to really build your leadership and managerial and coaching skills. So the first rotation being operational finance, what we mean by that is you would typically be doing a finance planning and analysis role for one of our operating units. So at AT&T, we have 4 main operating units, including AT&T Communications, which is our traditional telecom business. We recently acquired Time Warner, as you probably have heard of that, and now called Warner Media. So we very much, as part of our program, do place participants in that operating unit, and those are such brands as HBO, CNN, Warner Brothers. So really exciting parts of the business. Xander Finance, which is our advertising and analytics arm, is being folded into Warner Media, and we do place participants there, as well as in AT&T Latin America Finance. And then on a more strategic finance role, it's during your second rotation. These were things that Tim had covered earlier, but you can see we're placing people in strategy, corporate development, mergers and acquisitions, investor relations, investment management. So plenty of interesting work being done. We do request that you are mobile, so you have to be willing to relocate. And you can see our primary locations are Dallas being our headquarters, but we do place people in Atlanta, New York City, Bedminster, New Jersey, and Los Angeles. But of course, now we're with the COVID situation, all of us are working from home until further notice, but that is typically a requirement of the program. So if we could go on to the next slide. So as part of the program, I mentioned the rotations, but now we also have the learning and development component, which includes a curriculum where we partner with AT&T University and also with Harvard to bring the latest and greatest leadership development training to our participants. We typically also have orientation, leadership conferences, and really try to develop those leadership skills for our participants. We also have executive dialogue sessions. We most recently had a presentation from the CFO of HBO to talk about our launch of HBO Max. So that was really well received by our participants. And we also do offer reimbursement for different finance credentials, including CFA, CPA, and FP&A reimbursement program for that certification for corporate finance. And we also do have mentor programs as part of our program for both our full-time and our interns. And so then lastly, with our intern program, as I mentioned, we very much use this next slide as a feeder pool for the full-time program. So when you come in as an intern, we very much work with our senior leaders to determine the positions where we want our interns to add the most value. Every year it changes, but the important thing is not only are we giving you a meaningful assignment, but we're also wrapping a whole program experience around the internship. So that's everything from facility tours to executive lunches, volunteer days, social events, etc. And at the end of the summer, we do bring all our interns typically to Dallas to present to a panel of VPs to talk about their summer experiences and also some strategy recommendations. So very much, again, used to potentially get a full-time job offer upon graduation. So if we go to the next slide, Tim had talked about, and Morgan as well, about what we're looking for. So I would say that I don't have to touch too much on this. Everything that they talked about is typically what we're looking for our participants. And as I mentioned, we do just have the minimum work experience with at least 3 years of previous work experience. And then the last thing just to mention is that we are externally recognized by some of these groups, including Vault. We've been on their list, I think, 8 times for being one of the top intern programs, as well as Top MBA named us the top program for MBAs for finance, as well as MBA Exchange had named us as one of their top leadership development programs. So I think I got through mine as quickly as I could, and I definitely wanted to leave time for questions. So we're going to open it up for Q&A right now.
Thanks, Linda. And thanks everyone for sharing. You know, I feel as though, and I'm sure everyone would agree, it was great to hear the different perspectives, you know, Tim talking about broadening your capabilities, you know, kind of tasking you with learning about technology and thinking about what you could bring to the table in order to be part of transformation. You know, a lot of what was talked about too, and Martha presented about her experience, was telling you and asking you to be a continuous learner, which, you know, by you even just being on the call today and hearing what we're presenting today is a great example of that. Continue to be curious and ask the questions that need to be asked to help develop yourself along the way. And then, you know, thanks Morgan and Linda for sharing more about what it takes to be successful in both, you know, the undergrad and MBA finance programs, and more about the impact that you can make right away as an intern or a full-time participant. So right now we're going to open it up for Q&A. We had some great questions come in. So first off was from Zeal. This one is probably for Tim. So he asked, is there a greater chance of errors or mistakes being missed if you use a bot or automation for so many processes? And then how do you ensure, you know, mistakes don't happen?
Yeah, sure. So good question. And being a true finance professional, that's very important. We want to double check, triple check, quadruple check everything that we do. So first off, when you talk about bots versus business intelligence, we really focus upon using the best tool for the job, meaning that if a bot to replicate a process needs to be checked over and over again, we'll either build into that process or we'll use a different tool. So also as you think about automating insights and dashboards into BI, for example, behind the scenes or even in the BI dashboard, we integrate checks to ensure that we are not only just pulling from that one source, but then we're also checking a few other different places to ensure accuracy.
Awesome. Great question. So another question from Shahid. He asked, as a finance major, I want to know what specific skills you want for an analyst. So for example, Microsoft SQL, Amazon AWS, etc. So can we speak to, you know, the skill set we'd be looking for? I think even more towards the finance transformation focus of it.
So let me give my perspective, and then Morgan, Linda, please weigh in. writing SQL code is probably too technical. Now, if you are efficient in writing code and you are that technical and you have a lot of interest in doing finance as well, you probably bring a lot to the table, or not probably, you definitely bring a lot to the table, right? But I don't want folks taking away from this that you've got to be a coder to be an effective financial analyst. You don't. Because the reality of it is that these tools have become much more self-service oriented, to where you don't have to be able to code to be able to take advantage of them. So there's a wide array of skill sets that will be very successful in finance. So you can be technical or you can be less technical. Either way, we've got a path forward for you. So Linda, Morgan, anything to add?
Sure. So for the MBA program, probably one of the key skill sets we're looking for is financial modeling. So really being able to apply the numbers to a strategic story and being able to support that with analytics. So I would say really, if you have any opportunities during your coursework to focus and get a class in financial modeling, that would be something that would be really important for the MBA program. Morgan?
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I would just say also just have an aptitude and that continuous learning mindset that a lot of what you're going to need is going to be on the job training. So even if you're focusing in finance in your academics, just be open to that technology and have an open mind about it, and you can learn it as you go.
Thank you. So Sufi asks, how has the work from home situation affected financial management operations? How helpful have these technologies been to financial management operations, especially during the last few months?
So I'll try that one as well. And then actually, I wouldn't mind hearing Martha's perspective on this too. But it's been helpful, right? I mean, you look at whether it be Zoom, whether it be WebEx, to using BI and other tools. Technology is all around us. So I would say that all of the technology that we have off the shelf and at our fingertips within AT&T has been very, very beneficial as we've transitioned to working from home. But Martha, what do you think from an analyst perspective? Oh, Martha, are you on mute? There you go. Try now. Well, Martha, you're still on mute. So we'll.
No, we'll move on to the next question, Martha. We'll try you again if we have some time at the end, if that's cool with you, because we have some great questions coming in. So as a financial professional with not much experience, how can we stand out on our resumes and LinkedIn profiles while searching for jobs? As a recruiter, I can actually take this one, and then I'd be curious to hear from some of the program teams as well. I think one of the great things is to obviously have a complete profile, make sure you're keeping everything up to date. I would also just put as much quantifiable data as possible. So even if you were maybe volunteering for a summer or working in a role that to you maybe initially you don't think could be relevant work experience, take a step back and say, how can I take this role or portray this role in a way that will show a beneficial skill set for what I'm looking for. So I always recommend like customizing your resume based on the role you're looking for, especially with, you know, a statement at the beginning in what you share. And then just doing research, making connections via social media and LinkedIn to show, you know, you're prepared and really interested in the company and role. But Linda, Morgan, any insights from you?
I think that was a great overview. You mentioned it briefly about that brand statement at the top of your resume. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what makes you stand out, and how you differentiate yourself from others.
Awesome. So another question, and this one is for really all the panelists. How have your college courses and extracurriculars and, you know, the internships and work experiences you've had helped shape and improve what your career looks like today? and maybe share a little bit about which activities and experiences you found most useful.
I'll go first. I think taking a variety of coursework as well as being involved with your community, on campus, on your rec center, athletic group, it's just going to make you a well-rounded person. It's going to get you exposure to a variety of people that you can learn from. You'll learn more about yourself, strengths, areas of focus, and you'll be able to portray that during the interview process. So yeah, it's always good to put yourself out there. You'll find that once you're in AT&T, it's a culture of you could have a lot of different careers in your entire career with AT&T. So the more you know about, if you know you like to jump around and do a bunch of different things, that's great. It's the place for you.
I think, Morgan, that's a great point. I've been with the company about 7 years, and I've had about 7 different jobs. So it just gives you an idea to all of the different types of work you can do. I'll tell you from a coursework and prior experience standpoint, AT&T is my first ever job in finance. So in the past, I've been in sales, I've been in general management, right? And that coupled with all of the different diverse classes. For my grad program, I went to an international graduate program called Thunderbird, and that was very eye-opening because it exposed me to all kinds of different cultures. So people from all over the world, and that has been highly beneficial, as well as extracurricular stuff, coaching, playing on team sports and so forth. So.
Yeah.
And as far as my background, I have an undergrad degree in finance and an MBA in management. And I did go back as part of, actually AT&T paid for my MBA because we have tuition reimbursement. So that was nice. And I've also played college sports. I played basketball. And I think that definitely helps build leadership skills and gives you skills to be successful in the workforce. And fortunately with AT&T, as Morgan mentioned, under the umbrella of AT&T, I've had jobs in finance, sales, marketing, and human resources. So I've been able to have a long career with AT&T without changing companies and doing lots of different things. So lots of opportunities within the company.
Thanks for sharing, guys. So our last question from Alejandra. So in the same way that recruiters are trying to find the best candidates for positions, students are now trying to find the job or company that best fits with their goals. What do you think makes the finance development programs at AT&T unique and better than those offered by finance-focused companies such as banks or investment institutions? So I would say that, and maybe just what makes the programs unique in general.
Great. Well, I'll start. I think what's different about AT&T's program is that people who are usually come to us are definitely interested in a career in corporate finance versus investment banking or consulting. So, there are certainly, I think, a subset of people that want that as their career trajectory to come into and work for a company like AT&T. And for us, our program is actually funded by the CFO, John Stevens. And because of that commitment from our senior leadership, it makes my job very easy because they are very committed to the development of our MBAs and our future leaders. So from that perspective, and having a dedicated staff, myself and Eden Caprio are managing this program. This is our full-time job. So we're able to basically develop our participants, but also making sure the needs of the senior leadership are being met for future leaders in the future leadership pipeline. So that's, I think, something unique about AT&T is that commitment from our senior leaders and the fact that we are a corporate finance specific development program.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And another thing that I would mention is when you're thinking about what company is the best fit for you, those other ones are very specific in securities, investments. Think of AT&T as a TMT company, so that telecommunications, media, and technology. If that's more of your interest with the finance flair, then AT&T might be the place for you. And if you like to have a variety of opportunities within one company and coming into a program that's going to help you kind of navigate that versus going into a company where you're in that position until who knows when, then that might be a better fit. Maybe you want to be more of a specialist versus a generalist.
Great. Well, thank you all for your perspectives again today. I think, believe it or not, we've reached the end of the program for today. Thanks for attending and joining us today, asking great questions. A SurveyMonkey link will launch as you exit today. So please, please consider giving us, all the feedback. It's valuable for us. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.